youth program at KEM Hospital, and also I just want to share one particular boy, Dr. Ashish Tekwani. He was passed out from KEM. In one particular exam, INI SS exam, he secured third rank, All India third rank. That too, he was chanting every day 16 rounds and hearing one lecture every day. After doing every day 16 rounds and hearing one lecture every day, still he is able to secure the third rank. So it is very inspiration to us also. And Prabhuji also does congregation program at Shivaji Park. And our temple, there are so many services which are shared managerially. Generally, the team leads shared management. So Prabhuji is part of so many teams. I will just list down. He is part of the team Vaishnava Training Academy. There is a team of devotees who is leading. He is part of it. And also he is part of the team which designs courses, education courses like Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, etc. And also he is part of the team of guest reception services in the Chopati temple. He is the member of Temple Council, which is the highest management body of ISKCON Chopati. And he is also member of the Brahmachari Ashram Counselor Board. And I am also Prabhuji's counselor. And he is part of the team of Satellite Center Steering Committee. Chopati temple has around 17 satellite centers like Ratnagiri, Parbhani, Hingoli, Nanded. And there are team of the devotees who are taking care of them. Prabhuji is part of that. And also is part of the team of Kartik Yatra. Last year, 10,000 devotees were taken to Jagannath Puri. And Prabhuji and his team made such a nice arrangements. And he also visits ISKCON Baramati and Kankavali for guiding those devotees. Especially Baramati, he cultivated such a nice congregation. Most of the Maharaj, Radha Swami Maharaj classes are in English. But the most of the congregation in Maharashtra are from Marathi background. So to give access of Maharaj Vani to Marathi people, Prabhuji took an important task. He empowered the congregation in Baramati to translate all the Maharaj classes into Marathi, all the question answer sessions of Maharaj into Marathi, Maharaj quotes into Marathi. So many ways the Marathi preaching Prabhuji is helping. So we will, the enthusiasm of the audience actually inspires the speaker to give the inner realizations. So we enthusiastically welcome His Grace Nanda Dulal Prabhu for today's evening class. Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna. I'm really grateful to all of you for coming here. Although this is not a yatra planned on a weekend. Today is Thursday, right? So you came here on Wednesday morning means you started on Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you have all taken leaves from your office, from your school, and it's not very easy to do that. So I'm really grateful to all of you for giving Krishna consciousness a priority in your life. And although it's definitely a challenge to find time for Krishna consciousness, to make it a priority, but I can see that even today, around 270 youth from all over Maharashtra, primarily connected to Shri Radha Gopinath temple, and thanks to the untiring efforts of different youth preachers connected to ISKCON Youth Services, ISKCON Chopati, all of you are here and you are saying, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, does not matter. What matters is to associate with devotees and to hear Krishna Katha and to understand what glorious culture we belong to. So thank you so much, and I would request all of you to give a clap to all the other devotees here. So all of us are aware of a lamp. Lamp has some structure, usually made up of mud, dried mud, then there is oil in it, and then there is a wick. जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं बाती, right? So The function of a lamp is not just to stay like that with the oil full. The function of a lamp is to light it and then enlighten others. So all of us are trying to be Vaishnavas, all of us are trying to be devotees, we are trying to associate and learn from each other. So in one sense, when the lamp lights, the lamp also receives light, but that lamp is also transmitted everywhere else. A lot of others also benefit when a lamp lights. Now, if the oil is less, if the oil is getting extinguished, what will happen to the wick, the bati of the lamp? It will get burnt out. So then somebody will say, Prabhuji, if there is a risk of burning out of the wick, then why to introduce fire there? Let's not burn the lamp. So if you keep fire out, then the lamp stays as it is, but basically it does not serve its purpose. So you have to bring fire there and you have to light it. But what will prevent the lamp from getting burnt out is that the oil supply should be there, the ghee supply should be there. Yes? Similarly, all of us in our lives, we will try to do many services. Somebody can sing, somebody can speak, somebody can manage, somebody can cook, and somebody can do other services also. But for us to keep doing our services lifelong, for our own benefit and for the benefit of others, there has to be a supply of oil. And that oil is basically, in a very broad way, Vaishnava Sangha. When we are surrounded by Vaishnavas, we will chant Hare Krishna. When we are surrounded by Vaishnavas, we will participate in Kirtan. When we are surrounded by Vaishnavas, then we will have prasad. When we are surrounded by Vaishnavas, service also becomes very easy. All these activities become very difficult without the association of Vaishnavas. So we have two choices. One is stay what we are and not get burnt. But then if we don't get burnt, what is the use of that lamp? And when you get burnt, there is a chance, risk of getting burnt out. So we have to burn, but we should not get burnt out. And that wick should always be dipped in sufficient amount of oil or ghee so that the continuous supply of inspiration, the continuous supply of motivation and nourishment keeps happening, and the wick burns and gives light around but never gets burnt out. So IYS Yatra is basically trying to give a very strong supply of that oil or ghee to all the wicks that are here so that all of you can burn. We don't want you to burn out, but we want you to burn so that you can serve the purpose of human form of life and you can also inspire so many of your friends. There is so much happiness in devotional service. But it takes one to know one. Unless you have actually tasted sugarcane, you cannot speak about sugarcane to somebody, and somebody who has not... See, if you taste sugarcane, you can give that sugarcane to somebody. If you just say, अरे ऐसा डंडी जैसा रहता है, और उसमें ऐसा कुछ, there are some knots there, he might mistake a bamboo stick for a sugarcane. Externally, a bamboo stick and a sugarcane look the same. But what will happen if you put your teeth in a bamboo stick? Your teeth will get broken. And if that same teeth you put in a sugarcane stick, then you can get sweetness. So the whole world is basically trying to taste sweetness, and they are trying to put their teeth in a bamboo stick, and many times their teeth get broken. It is only devotees like you who are connected to Krishna consciousness, and we are getting knowledge in parampara from His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So we know what is a bamboo and what is a sugarcane. That knowledge is very important. So, sampradaya, sankirtan. Samkirtan means samyak rupena kirtan. So what is sampradaya? Sampradaya means completely giving knowledge. So the Supreme Lord is waiting for all of us in Vaikuntha, and He is thinking, my sons and daughters who have left me from Vaikuntha, when will they return? And all of us in this dark material world, which needs external illumination with the help of the sun, the moon and the electricity. If you take out the sun, the moon and electricity, then this universe is a globe of darkness. The inherent nature of this material world is darkness. And what is the inherent nature of the spiritual world? Na tad bhasayate suryo, na shashanko, na pavakaha. That world is self-illuminated. So from a self-illuminated world, we have fallen into a dark place which needs an external sun, which needs an external moon, which needs external electricity. So it's like a dark well in which we have fallen, and the Supreme Lord, out of His concern for us, has put 4 ropes in that well. Because we keep shouting, koi hai, koi bachayega mujhe. So those 4 ropes are the 4 sampradayas. Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya and Kumara Sampradaya. All we have to do is catch on to that rope, and there are acharyas, there are representatives, or the Supreme Lord Himself, when He comes here, He pulls out those ropes. And when He pulls out the rope, all you have to do is just catch on to it. And when somebody is pulling you out, don't call him names. In simple Hindi, उसको कुछ बुरा भला मत कहना. जो खींच रहा है आपको बाहर, the minimum intelligence of somebody who's fallen in a deep dark well is, the person who's pulling me out of the deep dark well, I should always be grateful to that person, and I should never ever find faults in that person who's taking me out of the deep dark well. It can happen that somebody who's pulling you out of the deep dark well, when you go out and you look at his hands may have some disease or something. At that time, if you look at the disease and you say, अरे क्या आपके हाथ तो अच्छे नहीं हैं, आपके हाथ के ऊपर तो कुछ विटिलिगो हुआ है, कुछ रोग हुआ है आपके हाथ पे. He might really feel, I have taken you out of this deep dark well, and the only thing you had to speak is not words of gratitude, but आपके हाथ ऐसे हैं, आपकी आवाज़ ठीक नहीं है, आपके आँखों में एक दाग दिख रहा है. We have our own vision of seeing only faults, yes? So all that the Supreme Lord and His representatives are expecting from us is gratitude. And His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj regularly says, somebody who is not grateful is a great fool. So anybody who's preaching to you, anybody who's carrying the message to you, anybody who's helping you come out of this deep dark well, anybody who's guiding you, please maintain this one simple quality towards him. Be grateful to that person. And just by being grateful to the person who's helping us come out of that deep dark well, the Supreme Lord can allow unlimited mercy to come to you, and you can actually escape this prison-like situation and go to the spiritual world. So in the Bhagavatam, there is a very beautiful shloka which is connected to our situation today. So this is Maitreya Muni speaking to Vidura, and he says, Shrutasya pumsam suchira shramasya nanvancha sa suribhir idito artha. So he's saying, Shrutasya pumsam, those who are always listening, all of you are listening. Some for some days, some for some weeks, some for some months, and maybe some of you are initiated, so maybe for years. But suchira, for a long, long time, if you have heard, and if you have done a lot of hard work practicing spiritual life, just to sit and listen is very difficult. 7.1 Krishna says, all you have to do to learn about me is tat shrunu. And in all the lectures that Prabhupada gave on the Bhagavad Gita, the highest number of lectures Prabhupada spoke on 7.1. It is not mat chitta mat gata prana, it is not man mana bhava mat bhakto, it is not sarva dharman parityaja. Prabhupada chose 7.1 to speak. Why? Because all the audience was in ignorance, and he said, just sit and hear. I have so much to give you, just sit and hear. So 7.1 is that, and just one shloka later, 7.3, what is that? It's very difficult for people to manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhe. It's very rare for people to know Krishna. Just one shloka back Krishna spoke. If you want to know asamshayam samagram, if you want to know me in full and without doubt, just sit and listen. And one shloka later Krishna says, but hardly anybody knows me in truth. If you put these two shlokas together, what Krishna is saying is, although Shravanam is the easiest thing possible, but Kali Yuga is working very hard to distract us from Shravanam. There are so many notifications coming, there are so many thoughts coming, there are so many people moving around in this alley that our eyes will be distracted. And at the right time, when there is a right inspiration coming through the speaker, originally from Krishna, we will miss it and will fall into our bad habits. So Shravanam is very important. And here in this shloka, Maitreya Muni is saying, Suchira Shramasya. So those who have heard about Krishna by doing a lot of hard work for a long, long time, Tattad Gunanu Shravanam Mukunda Padara Vinda Hridayeshu Yesham. He's saying, after hearing about the Supreme Lord for a long, long time with a lot of hard work, focusing, not getting distracted, following regulative principles, what is the fruit? He's saying, the fruit is to hear the glories of those Mukunda Padaravinda Hridayeshu Yesham, to hear the glories of his pure devotees. So it's very interesting. The Supreme Lord is revealed by the devotees, but who gives us access to the Supreme Lord? It is devotees. So devotees lead us to the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord, after leading a life of devotion, will tell you, actually, if you want to really please me, if you want to really love me, then you should also know about the lives of the pure devotees. So here we are in Srirangam, and in the morning class, Baldev Prabhu very, in a very condensed way, he spoke about how the deity came here from Brahmaji, Dharma Varma, and he spoke about the glories of the deities. And somehow, I am the next fortunate person whose topic is to speak about the pure devotees who stayed here, who dedicated their lives for serving the deity here. And basically both of them, they complement each other. There's a very famous shloka that all of us know, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andhakar. Jahan Krishna Taha Nai Mahayara Adhikar. So darkness is basically absence of light. Darkness does not have its own independent existence. Where sunlight is not there, that is darkness. So how will you kill darkness? Just bring sunlight. So he's saying Krishna is like light and Maya is like the absence of light, means absence of Krishna. And wherever sunlight is there, darkness is not there. Similarly, where Krishna is there, Maya cannot be there. So here the analogy is the devotee, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, Krishna is like Surya. Now I'll take you to 10th canto, 10th chapter. I think it is shloka number 37. I don't remember exactly, or 44. But basically this is 9th chapter is Damodar Leela. And 10th chapter of 10th canto is Nalkuver and Manigriv getting freed by Damodar after he got caught up in 9th chapter. So towards the end, Nalkuver and Manigriv are freed from their curse and they are in front of Krishna, and Krishna is having a conversation with Nalkuver and Manigriv. In that, one of the shlokas, it comes, Krishna tells Nalkuver and Manigriv, you should be thankful to Narad Muni because Narad Muni cursed you and that's why you landed in my courtyard and that's why I freed you. In that shloka he says, Sadhunam Samachittanam. I don't remember the full shloka, but it starts with Sadhunam Samachittanam, and then the next line he says, Pumso Akshnor Savitur Yatha. He says, Sadhunam Samachittanam, those who are sadhus, who are samachitta, who are equipoised, such sadhus are like Savita. Savita means the sun. So the pure devotee is saying, my dear conditioned soul, Krishna is like the sun, and if Krishna is in your life, then Maya cannot enter. And Krishna is telling Nalkuver and Manigriv, if a samachitta sadhu like Narad Muni is there in your life, he is like the sun. And in the presence of the sun like pure devotee sadhu, sin cannot stay in your life. It's very interesting. In the Vedas, it is mentioned that the fruit of these eyes is to see the form of the Lord. Where is it mentioned? Bhagavatam 9th canto, Ambarish Maharaj, Savai Manah Krishna Padara Vindayor Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanu Varnane Harer Tat Mandira Marjanadisho. So there it is mentioned, the hands, the glories of the hands is to wash the temple. The glories of the legs is to walk to the holy place. And this is how Ambarish Maharaj engaged himself. So there it is mentioned the glory of all the senses is to be engaged in the service of the Lord. Now we'll go to Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sanatan Goswami is meeting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Varanasi. and he's in a different situation because he's run away from the Muslim king. So he has grown hair, he has a beard, and he's basically considering himself unclean. And when he comes to Varanasi, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sends Tapan Mishra to check if there is somebody outside, then there is nobody. So again, Sanatana Goswami comes inside. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sitting, and as soon as he sees Sanatana Goswami, he recognizes. And Tapan Mishra says, actually, there seems to be like some Muslim Daravesh outside. There is a Muslim saint outside. But he says, no, you bring him in. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu runs from his asan and forcibly embraces Sanatana Goswami. And then Sanatana Goswami is running behind. He said, no, don't touch me, don't touch me. And what does Sanatana Goswami say? Sanatana Goswami, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is forcing himself to embrace Sanatana Goswami, is saying, Toma sparshi toma dekhi gai tomara gun sarvendriya trupti ei shastra nirupan. Toma dekhi toma sparshi gai tomara gun. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, and he is saying, actually, the fruit of these eyes is to see a pure devotee. The fruit of the tongue, the success of the tongue is to glorify a pure devotee. So Ambarish Maharaj is saying the glory of my tongue is to glorify the Supreme Lord. Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanu Varnane. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord is saying, Gai Tomara Gun, Sarvendriya Trupti, A Shastra Nirupan. So there is basically a tie-up between the Supreme Lord and the pure devotee. There are some things which the Supreme Lord will never do. The Supreme Lord is all powerful, but the Supreme Lord will not do one thing. What is that? He will never ever force anybody. The Supreme Lord comes to this world, he exhibits his Aishwarya or Madhura pastimes. Krishna exhibited his Madhura pastimes, all the other incarnations exhibited their Aishwarya pastimes. They'll never ever force anybody to surrender. And the biggest example of this is Krishna going to Duryodhan and telling him, my dear sir, the Pandavas are the rightful owners of the land. Can you please give them the whole, the kingdom? He said, no, not possible. Okay, can you just give them their Indraprastha, which they developed, their hard work? No, never. Okay, no problem. Can you please give them 5 villages because they are 5 Pandavas, so they need 1 village to rule? He said, no. समझ में आ रहा है कि नहीं? 3 बार बोल चुका हूं, नहीं. Then Krishna says, okay Prabhu, we will meet on the battlefield then. So, Keshagra Shatabhagasya Shatadha Kalpitasya cha. 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair, that Atma is basically bullying on the Paramatma. Nahi dunga. Nahi dunga. Nahi! And what is Krishna saying? I tried, but the ego of the Anu Atma is bigger than the compassion of the Vibhu Paramatma. So then who will save us? So as I mentioned, there is a tie-up between the devotees and the Supreme Lord. What the Supreme Lord cannot do, the devotee does, and what the devotee cannot do, the Supreme Lord does. In this way, they have a Gatbandhan. And this Gatbandhan is basically to transport us from all our miseries to the Supreme Parampadam. In Sri Vaishnava parlance, it is called Parampadam, the spiritual world. So the devotees will catch hold of you and say, Prabhuji, mala kiya ki nahi? ऐसे भगवान भी ऐसा कभी पूछते नहीं है माला किया कि नहीं. ये काउंसलर मेरे पीछे क्यों पड़ा है? You know why? Because it is his concern for you. Are you chanting your rounds? Are you following 4 regulative principles? Because the Supreme Lord will never ever do that, because the Supreme Lord feels, if I ask a question to this jiva, are you chanting your rounds? Are you following the regulative principles? Are you reading Prabhupada's books every day? The jiva might feel pressure, and the jiva will say, Supreme Lord forced me. And the source of love, Krishna, never wants this one thing accused on him, that the Supreme Lord forced me. The Supreme Lord says, no, I am your lover. Prem or force, these are mutually contradictory words. Love and force are mutually contradictory words. I'll never ever put any pressure on you. I will come, I will display my pastimes. If you are fortunate, if you get attracted, then you say, I think I want to serve Krishna. Bali Maharaj was given that chance. Krishna came as Vaman Dev. In one sense, he cheated him. His sister got offended. She came as Putana. But Bali Maharaj said, no, it's my fortune that Krishna is asking something for me, and he surrendered. And that same opportunity was given to the Rajaka in Mathura. What did Krishna do to the Rajaka in Mathura? Krishna came to the Rajaka and said, give me that clothes that you have. What did the Rajaka say? Hey, you know who these clothes belong to? They belong to the Kamsa, the king. And don't even put your eyes on these clothes. I'll have you slaughtered. I'll have you killed. Adivasis, tribals of the jungles, you want to come here to the city and you want to wear the king's clothes? Actually, Krishna gave the same, in one sense, he did the same pastime with Bali Maharaj and the Rajaka in Mathura. And Bali Maharaj, actually, he got that request, I want land from you, from the avatar. Vaman Dev is an avatar. Whereas the Rajaka in Mathura got that demand from the avatari. Can you imagine the fortune of that Rajaka? But just see how they responded. Actually, we all of us, it starts with Shravanam. Navavidha Bhakti starts with Shravanam and ends with Atma Nivedanam. The most easiest is Shravanam. We already discussed that. And what is the most difficult? The most difficult is Atma Nivedanam. Manasa deho geho jo kichu mor arpilu tuva pade Nanda Kishore. Whatever I have, my body, my wealth, my mind, my thoughts, my conscience, kayena vacha, manasa indriyerva, everything I offer to. Very difficult. Shravanam is very easy. Bali Maharaj, by offering what Krishna wanted from him, became the Acharya for Atma Nivedanam. Can you imagine how difficult it is to become an Acharya for Atma Nivedanam? It is difficult for us to practice Shravanam. What to speak of becoming an Acharya or an example for Shravanam? Bali Maharaj became an example, an Acharya for Atma Nivedam, which is the most difficult devotional service out of the 9. That same opportunity was given by the source of all avatars, Krishna, to the Rajaka in Mathura. And what did Rajaka do? Instead of grabbing that opportunity and becoming another Acharya for Atma Nivedanam, he threatened Krishna and he finished his good fortune. So that's why the devotees will do follow up with you, and you have to have the correct vision to see this is actually a representative of the Supreme Lord following up with me. And when you reach perfection, the devotee cannot send you back to the spiritual world in his humility. So he tells Krishna, here is a sincere devotee, here is a nice devotee, please accept him in the spiritual world. So what the devotee cannot do, Krishna does. What Krishna cannot do, devotee does. In this way, both of them, they are working hard to neglect our disqualifications and to take us back home, back to Godhead. So the 4 sampradayas, here we are in Srirangam, and this is the place of Shri Sampradaya. Shri Devi is Lakshmi Devi. She is the representation of all opulence. And this is the Sampradaya of Shri Devi or Lakshmi Devi. So all of us, we have been discussing about Ramanuja Acharya, Sripad Ramanujacarya. So we'll speak a little bit about Ramanujacarya, and then we'll also speak about some of his prominent disciples. It is 6:45 till how much I have time, Prabhu? So there is a place called Sri Perumbudur, and Sri Perumbudur is a place where Sripad Ramanujacarya was born in a very nice, pious Sri Vaishnava family. In his childhood days, he joined a Gurukul. In those days, Gurukul meant teachers who do not believe in the form of the Lord, basically Advaitavadi. I was reading 3rd canto, and 3rd canto describes the fight between Varahadev and Hiranyaksha. 16, 17, 18 chapters. So Varahadev, Hiranyaksha looks at Varahadev and he is not able to realize that Varahadev is the same Supreme Lord who has a transcendental body. He looks at him from an external vision and he calls him Vana Gochara. Because he is, in a Varaha. Varaha means wild pig, the wild boar who stays in the jungle. So because of lack of vision and because he did not have any devotee in his life, he calls him Vana Gochara. He calls him Mriga. He calls him Agya. He calls him Suradhama. He calls him the lowest of personalities. And when he speaks all these words to Varahadev, it is mentioned, Varahadev was hurt by these abusive words of Hiranyaksha. So the purport, Prabhupada writes, the Mayavadis, they feel that the Supreme Lord does not have any emotions because He is the Supreme Lord, but actually, if all of us have emotions, the Supreme Lord has supreme emotions. Actually, the most sensitive person, the most cultured person, if there can ever be, that is the Supreme Lord. And that's why when we are in the presence of the Supreme Lord, when His photographs are there, when His deities are there, we have to be very careful. The friend who's sitting next to you, if you just come and sit next to him, and he's your friend, and you don't even say, "Arey, kaisa hai? Kaisa laga aaj ka prasad? Kaisa laga aaj ki katha?" You know, it distances that relationship, is it not? But you didn't offend. You just didn't recognize his presence. So, if your friend is an ordinary human being, a normal human being, and he gets offended, he feels bad when you don't recognize his presence, although you have not spoken anything negative. Can you imagine when the Supreme Lord is present in the form of His photographs, Supreme Lord is present in the form of the deities, and we sometimes don't even recognize His presence, we just come and sit, we don't offer obeisances, actually how much it must be paining Him. So it's very important to understand that just like we have emotions, the Supreme Lord has emotions, and His emotions are more fine, are more refined. Actually, in your college and in your office, if there is somebody who's non-emotional and who's just a rough talker, you know, the general understanding is he is not a gentleman. One of the symptoms by which we measure a gentlemanliness of somebody is the sensitivity of speech, the sensitivity of dealings, the sensitivity of eyes, is it not? Can you imagine if Supreme Lord is the most gentlemanly person, how much more sensitive He is and how much we should be careful that we don't offend Him. So the Gurukul teacher of Ramanuja, his name was Yadav Prakash. And since he belonged to the Mayavadi school, he never thought that the Supreme Lord is a person. And regularly, when he would give explanations from the Upanishads and all, he would give a Advaita explanation. So one time, Ramanujacarya, he was massaging the back of his guru. And the guru was reading something. And as he is reading something, he is speaking the Advaita explanation. And Ramanujacarya is massaging like this. And as a small boy, tears started falling on the shoulders of Yadav Prakash. Now, there are two kinds of tears. There are tears when you feel bad, when you are hurt, and there are tears when you feel happy. Is it not? Prem ke aasu. Which of these tears is cold tears and which of those tears are warm tears? Experience. Can you tell me Pratyaksha Praman? This is not mentioned in the Gita. When you are happy, then the tears are cold, right? When you are happy, your tears are cold, and when you are hurt, your tears are warm. Yadav Prakash started feeling warm tears on his. So he said, "What happened?" Then he looked, and Ramanuja was just crying tears. So he said, "What happened to you?" He said, "No, he's a student, and he's a cultured student, and he's a sensitive student, so he could not speak very clearly. But he just said, no, nothing, and he just wiped his eyes. Actually, he was hurt to hear that the Supreme Lord does not have a form, the Supreme Lord does not have eyes, the Supreme Lord does not have a nose, the Supreme Lord does not have any personality." After some days, there was some Upanishad being discussed, and in that Upanishad, the word was mentioned, Kapyasan, describing the Supreme Lord. And all of us know, Arjuna's flag in the Bhagavad Gita, the chariot, is described as Kapi Dhwaja. Arjuna is described as Kapi Dhwaja. Kapi means a monkey. Hanumanji was there on the flag of Arjun in Mahabharat war. Krishna gave him that seva in Mahabharat. So it's called Kapi Dhwaja. So Kapi means monkey. So one of the students, he got up and he said, "Guru Maharaj, can you please tell me what is this Kapyasan that was describing the eyes of the Supreme Lord?" And Yadav Prakash said, Kapi means monkey and Asan means backside, the buttocks. So he said, Kapyasan means the backside of a monkey. How many of you have seen the backside of a monkey sometimes? Vrindavan, Ayodhya. Yes, usually it's reddish, it is pinkish. And as soon as this explanation was given, Ramanuja again started crying. And Ramanuja raised his hand. This time he just could not control it. And he said, "Guru Maharaj, can I say something? Yes. So he says, Kapi, Ka also means the Surya. And Api or Apa means water. So he says, actually it means something that is exposed to the sun and it drinks water. So it means lotus. And what is the color of the lotus? Pink. So Ramanujacarya said, actually Kapyasan has nothing to do with the backside of a monkey. Kapyasan has to do with a blooming pink lotus. And that is what is described here. The color of the lotus is the color of the eyes of Lord Vishnu. And when he mentioned that, he gave example. He is speaking Sanskrit. So all of the boys, they felt Ramanuja's explanation is more sweeter. Ramanuja's explanation is more apt. It is more perfect. Because you are describing the Supreme Lord, you should never insult the Supreme Lord by comparing it with the backside of a monkey. But when this explanation was given and all the other Gurukul students, they agreed to it, Yadav Prakash felt insulted. And Yadav Prakash said, this boy, he's a thorn who's going to hurt me. And in this way, some other incidents happened where Ramanuja, he disagreed publicly with Yadav Prakash, but not in a sentimental way. He gave logical proof. Yadav Prakash was talking with some of his dear students who were following Yadav Prakash. He said, ye bacche ka kuch karna padega. He's becoming more popular than me. So then some of the students, they said, one way to eliminate Ramanuja is to finish him off. Because if you throw him out of the Gurukul, he will start his own Gurukul. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was Nimai, at the age of 8, he started his own Gurukul, Tola. Similarly, Ramanuja also, at his young age, his Guru is thinking that he will also start his own Gurukul. So, usko chodo mat, bahar jayega, he'll become your competitor. Usko khatam karna padega. Then Yadav Prakash announces, oh, from South India, we are going on a trip to Varanasi. And Varanasi, Ganga Devi is there. So, we want to take darshan of Ganga Devi. And all of our Gurukul students are going. And this whole trip was arranged to murder this small young boy, Ramanuja. But if Ramanuja is glorifying the Supreme Lord, can you kill somebody who is glorifying the Supreme Lord? Mare Krishna, Rakhe ke. And Rakhe Krishna, then Mare ke. So the conversation that Yadav Prakash was having with his students was overheard by one of the devotees. His name was Govinda. And Govinda was the cousin of Ramanuja. So Ramanuja didn't know anything like this, but Govinda overheard it, and Govinda came to Ramanuja and said, don't go on that trip because they will try to kill you on that trip. And Ramanuja understood. But how can he directly not go on that trip? So they went on the trip. One night when they slept in the jungle, that night was the chosen night. Neend mein ye log marne wale the Ramanuja ko. Govinda came and told that probably, this is the night. And Ramanuja in the middle of night had to run away from there. He does not know anything about the jungle. He does not know anything about anything, but he had to run away. And next day morning, Govinda is pretending he does not know. And Yadav Prakash is thinking, where is my dear disciple Ramanuja? Can you search for him? And all the who were conspirators, they did some drama. Are, kahan gaya Ramanuj? And they didn't find. So then they came to a conclusion, maybe Ramanuj was eaten by some fox, maybe by some wild animals. Chalo, bhul jao. And they did not go to Ganga because that was not the purpose of going to Varanasi. They came back. And when they returned, then all the people asked, Are, aap beech mein kaise aa gaye? Aap to Ganga jaane wale the, Varanasi jaane wale the. Bole, nahi, raaste mein Ramanuja, one of our dearmost disciples, he disappeared and that's why we came back. Actually, they never wanted to take darshan of Ganga. It was just to kill Ramanuja. So then Ramanuja, when he ran away from there, he reached a place in the middle of the jungle and he was very thirsty. And he also met one hunter. That person was wearing clothes of a hunter and he had his wife also. And Ramanuja said, where am I? This jungle, what is this place? And they said, actually, we also don't know, although we are in this jungle. But if you want, we are really hungry and you are like a small boy. So can you serve us by giving us some water? And Ramanuja, he said, yes, I would like to serve you. So Ramanuja gave some water to this hunter and huntress. And then they said, okay, you just go a little bit on this side. And Ramanuja went a little bit on that side. And suddenly he found himself very close to a very holy place called Kanchipuram. So when you came by train after Renigunta, then there is a place called Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram is one of the most important holy places in Sri Sampradaya. All of us from our childhood have heard of Tirupati. So Tirupati, Kanchipuram and Srirangam, these three are the three important places. Just like for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Vrindavan, Mayapur and Sri Jagannath Puri Dham. These three places are important. So Kanchipuram is called Tyaga Mandap. Tirupati is called Pushpa Mandap. Tirupati is always decorated with a lot of flowers. Anantacharya built a garden for him there. And Srirangam is called Bhoga Mandap. Why? Because here the Supreme Lord gets so much offerings and there is a lot of opulence here. So it's called Bhoga Mandap. So Ramanuja, by the blessings of that hunter and huntress, who later Ramanuja understood were basically Shiva and Parvati, they guided Ramanuja to Kanchipuram. And although where he ran away in the forest was nowhere close to Kanchipuram, suddenly Ramanuja found himself close to Kanchipuram. He saw the shikhar of the temple and he saw some homes. And when he entered this place, he asked, where am I? And the people said, don't you know? This is the most holy place of Kanchipuram and this is the most holy abode of Lord Varadraj. So Varada, Vara is from the word Vardhan and Da means Dadati. So Varada means the person who gives Vardhan. There are many people who can give you Vardhan. There are many people who can give you Ashirvad. But there is one person who is the king of all the Varada. He is called Varada Raj. So the Supreme Lord, one of the names is Varadraj. He is the king of those who can give you benedictions. He is the king of those who can give you Ashirvad. That Varadraj deity is there in Kanchipuram. Don't you know? You have come to the land of Varadraj, and Ramanuja felt very happy that the Supreme Lord had saved him. So this is how the Supreme Lord saves his devotees, although we may not understand how he is doing it. And when he went there, he went to the darshan of Varadraj. He found one devotee there. That devotee was fanning Varadraj. And he asked this devotee, can I know who you are? You are so dear to the Lord that you are doing chamar seva to the Lord. And he said, my name is Kanchipurna. And staying there for some time, Ramanuja found out this Kanchipurna is so close to Varadraj, he has a conversation with Varadraj. बातें करते हैं वरदराज से और वरदराज भी उनसे बातें करते हैं. So he understood, if I want to get Vara from Varadraj, I should please Kanchipurna. So he started serving Kanchipurna. Kanchipurna in the beginning gave him some seva to fan the Lord, but then at one point of time he said, for the service of the Lord, we need a lot of water. So can you bring water from this Pushkarani regularly for the service of Varadraj? So Ramanuj ko Kanchipuram में एक permanent सेवा मिल गया भगवान का. Can you imagine how fortunate he is to get seva to carry the Lord, the water for the Lord? Here also Srirangam, there is Kaveri river. In the morning, around 4 o'clock, one elephant who is the servant of Srirangam, Ranganath Swami, he goes on that main road in front of Rajgopuram, that main road that is there, it straight goes to Amma Mandapam, that Kaveri river. So around 4 o'clock, their elephant with one pot meant for the deity, he goes walking to the Kaveri river, then they'll fill the water in the Kaveri river, and then he comes walking back. Every day in the morning, so if you're interested, you can take permission and you can go. So Pradyumna Mishra Prabhu can decide. But basically, you know, it's a very personal service to bring water from the river for bathing of the deity in the morning. So Ramanuj got that seva. And slowly he became close to Kanchipurna. After some time, this young Ramanuj, he got married and he thought, Kanchipurna is such a dear devotee of the Lord. Prasad is what you get when something is offered to the Lord directly from the plate of the Lord is called Mahaprasad. And what is there in the vessel is called Prasad. So he says, Mahaprasad is always superior to Prasad. But that Mahaprasad, when it is tasted, by the pure devotees of the Lord, then it becomes more potency. It becomes more pure. So it is called Maha Prasad. So our Narad Muni in his previous life, it is mentioned, Sakrit Sma Bhunje Tvat Apashta Kilbishai. Narad Muni in his previous life, just once, he tasted the Maha Prasad of pure devotees, and the next life he became somebody like Narad Muni, the great Narad Muni. So that is the power of Maha Prasad. So how to get Maha Prasad of Kanchi Purna? Ramanujacharya asked his wife to cook some food for Kanchi Purna, and the plan was that after Kanchi Purna eats, that plate on which he eats, you serve him so much, he cannot eat it. वो फोर्स करने का उसको महा देने के लिए, तो कोई वैष्णव महा तो देता नहीं है. And that day was decided, and by some providence, Ramanuja received some seva and he had to leave. So Kanchi Purna came and he was served a lot of prasad, and Kanchi Purna ate and he tried to finish it, but it was just humanly impossible. So there was some maha left. That maha, he was thinking, Abhi, somebody is going to take it, and what will happen to it? But he could not avoid it. So Kanchi Purna, very reluctantly, he left from there. And the wife of Ramanuja, she saw that, and then she felt, actually Kanchi Purna was not from a Brahman birth. Although he was a great devotee, but he was not from a Brahman birth. So because Ramanuja is from a Brahman birth, his wife was always into that kind of mood. Her name was Rakshambal. So she felt, this Maha, although my husband has that vision, but I don't think lower than a Brahmana's remnants should be taken by my very educated, very cultured Brahman husband called Ramanuja. So what she did is, she took that pattal, she threw it, and she wiped that place clean. Saaf safai kar diya achhe se. Then she cleaned all the vessels also in which that cooking happened, and she cooked again for Ramanuj. And then Ramanuj came after some time feeling, today is my big day, today I'm going to get Maha of Kanchi Purna, Hari Bol. And then he says, yes, please bring that Maha. So he saw the items were different. He said, what happened to Kanchi Purna's Maha? He said, don't you worry, आप टेंशन मत लो, मैंने सब कुछ साफ कर दिया, और वो जो पत्तल था उसको तो कचरे के डब्बे में डाल दिया. I am so much your well-wisher. Ramanuja could not even speak a single word. He was so hurt, and he just saw the great gap of vision, of understanding between him and his wife. In ISKCON, we all are the humble servants of the foot carriers, the chappal carriers of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada's Grihastha life also, Prabhupada was so much dedicated to his Guru Maharaj, and he saw how there was such a big gap between him and his wife. So it seems the Supreme Lord also arranges things in such a way that if the wife is very devoted and if the wife is very cooperative, then there could be an impediment in the renunciation of that pure devotee. So Srila Prabhupada one time, he had written the purports to Bhagavad Gita, and that paper was there at his home. And one day when he came, he did not find those purports to Bhagavad Gita. And then he asked his wife, what happened to those papers that I had kept here? And she said, the tea biscuit seller came. In those days, a lot of things could be exchanged in barter. You don't have to pay. So he said, what? He said, yes. वो ऐसे ही पड़े थे बहुत दिनों से, तो मैंने वो चाय के बिस्किट लेने के लिए वो कागज दे दिए मैंने. And Prabhupada just felt so hurt. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita purports that we have were written in America. Post, he went to America. And the original Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita purports were given to some tea biscuit seller. And Prabhupada understood that there's a lot of gap. There are many other incidents which we may not have to mention here, but I am taking the reference to Ramanuja's life. Ramanuja understood, this is very difficult for me to stay with this wife. During this time, Ramanuja, because of his service attitude and because of his expertise in Sanskrit, he was also becoming famous in Kanchipuram. So around that time, one of the greatest acharyas of that time, his was Yamunacharya. And today morning, Baldev Prabhu instructed me that you should speak about Yamunacharya's connection with Ramanujacharya. So I am speaking that. So Yamunacharya along with his disciples had come to Kanchipuram, and from a distance, Ramanuja was also shining because of his effulgence. And Yamunacharya said, who is that person? And disciples of Yamunacharya said, Alabandar, the great conqueror, he is Ramanuja, the most famous Vaishnava here, who is very famous for his service attitude, for his humility, for his knowledge of scriptures. And from a distance, Yamunacharya, because he showed a finger to Ramanuja, that was the first indication from Yamunacharya's side to Ramanuja. There was no interaction, there was no talking, but Yamunacharya just showed a finger to Ramanuja. Then, after some time, Yamunacharya had to leave from this world. So Yamunacharya is in Kanchipuram. And by that time, Ramanuja had also shifted to Srirangam. And when Yamunacharya was about to leave, Yamunacharya indicated to some of his close disciples that bring Ramanuja. So there was one disciple of Yamunacharya, we spoke about Kanchipurna, then another disciple of Yamunacharya. So Yamunacharya is a big, huge Acharya. He's a big guru and he has multiple disciples. One of them is Kanchipurna, who would fan. Another was Mahapurna. So Mahapurna was given this seva that you go to Srirangam and get Ramanuja. At that time, Ramanuja was doing some service at the Kaveri and he was filling some water there, and Mahapurna met him there. And that time Yamunacharya was still alive. So he said, Yamunacharya is calling you. And Sripad Ramanuja, he immediately left that service and he went with Mahapurna. It took him 3 days. Sometimes they mention it took him 4 days. But they traveled to meet Yamunacharya. And by the time Ramanujacharya came, Yamunacharya had left this world. So everyone was around and they were in deep pain for losing their guru. Ramanuja came there, and Ramanuja unfortunately never even could talk with Yamunacharya even once. But Ramanuja heard that he wanted to meet me, and that's why he came. So when they observed Yamunacharya, 3 of his fingers were closed like this. Generally when a person leaves, the fingers are like this, but these 3 fingers were like this. So Ramanuja felt something is different here. Ramanuja asked all the other disciples, Yamunacharya's fingers, they are always like this? And they said no. So he understood there is something special about this. And Ramanuja meditated for some time, and then he said, my dear Yamunacharya, I promise to you that I will spread the glories of Shuddha Bhakti, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. I will spread Shuddha Bhakti that is free from Jnana and Karma all over the world. As soon as he said that, one of the fingers opened like this. So Yamunacharya has already left. The so-called dead body of an Acharya, the 3rd finger, it opened. And everyone was shocked. And he has never even spoken. So how did he know? Shri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam. Rupa Goswami knows the heart of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada knows the heart of Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Mano Abhishtam. That's why he was important. So similarly, Ramanuja was Yamunacharya Mana Abhishtam. Then he said, I will write a commentary considering the Sri Vaishnava Guru Shishya Parampara on the Vedanta Sutra of Vyasa Rishi. As soon as he said that, the 4th finger opened. So that commentary on Vedanta Sutra is called Shri Bhashya, written by Ramanujacharya. And then, knowing the internal desire of Yamunacharya, he said, I will also name one of my close disciples after Parashar Muni. Parashar Muni is the father of Vyasa Rishi, and Parashar Muni is known as the authority of Puranas. So Vishnu Puran and all these other Puranas are basically coming from Parashar Muni. So Parashar Muni is the authority of Puranas, but he is not known so much, he is not famous so much. But Yamunacharya had lot of respect for Parashar Muni. So when Ramanujacharya spoke that, then the 5th finger came out. And everyone was shocked and everyone understood, how does a boy who never ever met our spiritual master and somebody like Yamunacharya, how does he know about this? So they could see a very strong connection between Ramanuja and Yamunacharya. So after that, Mahapurna, who was the connection between Yamunacharya and Ramanuja, he stayed with Ramanuja. And Mahapurna was also married, he was a Grihastha, so Mahapurna and his wife are staying. One day, Ramanuja was out of home and they had a well, kuwa. And Mahapurna's wife was taking out some water from that well which was there in Ramanuja's home. So Ramanuja's wife Rakshambal, she also came and she was also taking water. And Mahapurna's wife, she waited for some time. But when she lifted that pot, a little bit of water from Mahapurna's wife's pot fell into the pot of Rakshambal. And Rakshambal on the spot made a big, huge fuss about it and he said, see, you are not even Brahmanas and my husband, he gave you residence in our own home and he's giving you food and all, but you don't think that you're equal to us and water from your pot cannot come into our pot. And there was a huge fight. And Mahapurna's wife, she just kept quiet and she did not speak a thing. And in the evening, Mahapurna, when he came, she told her husband, I think we should leave from here. He said, why so? He said, this incident happened. So he was thinking, Ramanuja loves him so much, Ramanuja respects him so much, and his wife, unfortunately, has a different mood. So what to do? So they didn't want to hurt Ramanuj, they didn't even want to speak anything. They just quietly picked up their bags and left. And evening Ramanuj came and Ramanuj saw they are not there. So he asked his wife, do you know why they are not? No. So did anything happen today? She narrated the incident and Ramanuj understood. Last time also I didn't speak, but it seems this is not going to work out because repeatedly I am inviting pure Vaishnavas to my home and she does not understand. In fact, she is insulting them. So Ramanuj became very serious about renunciation and he said, I think I have to give up my Grihastha ashram. So he is not somebody who is against a wife. He is not somebody who is against Grihastha ashram. No Vaishnava can ever be against Grihastha ashram. But when you have somebody who is totally non-cooperative, then you don't have a choice. So in one of the later stories, Ramanujacharya is a big sannyasi and one person, he lost his wife. And after losing his wife, means his wife died. But after losing his wife, he wanted to take sannyas and he came to Ramanuja and he said, my dear spiritual master, big sannyasi, can you give me sannyas? And Ramanuja met him for the first time. Ramanuja asked him, what is your qualification to take sannyas? Why I should give you sannyas? I don't even know you. This person said, my wife died yesterday. And for so many years we were together. But when she died, I did not cry a single tear. Can you see my renunciation? How renounced I am. I have no affection for my wife. So I want to take sannyas. I am qualified for sannyas. And Ramanuja said, the person who stayed with you for your whole life and who was with you in all the struggles of life, you don't have gratitude for her and you are telling me you didn't even cry a single tear when your wife died. I don't think this is a qualification for sannyas. In fact, if you cannot have gratitude for somebody who served you your whole life, how can you have gratitude for somebody whom you can't even see? जिसने आपकी आंखों के सामने जीवन के सारे संघर्षों में आपका साथ दिया, जो आप देख सकते हैं, उसके प्रति आपके मन में कृतज्ञता नहीं है, जो भगवान दिखते नहीं है, उनके प्रति कृतज्ञता कैसे लाएंगे? I don't think you are qualified for sannyas. Go develop the quality of gratitude and then you come and then I'll give you sannyas. So we should never ever have a misunderstanding about sannyas and we should never ever have a misunderstanding about Grihastha ashram. Grihe thako, vane thako, sada hari bole dako. The focus is on sada. Trinadapi suneja na, kirtaniya sada hari. So the human form of life is not meant to take sannyas and the human form of life is not to become a grihastha. The human form of life is to become a pure devotee. And whatever situation is favorable for us, we should go for it. In the 8th canto of the Bhagavatam, there is Gajendra Mokshan pastime. The elephant is a creature of land and he went into water, the alligator caught him. the elephant became weak and he had to basically struggle. So in that way, Prabhupada writes in the purport, the elephant is a very strong animal on land. When he goes into water, he becomes weak. Similarly, the alligator, the crocodile, is an animal of water, yes? So in the water, the grip is very strong. But when the alligator comes on the land, then the alligator becomes weak. So the alligator, if he wants to remain strong, he should always be in water. The elephant, if he wants to remain strong, he should always be in land. When we change our situation, when we change our environment, which is not anukul to our swabhav, then we become weak. So Ramanuja did not hate his wife, but Ramanuja understood it is not anukul for becoming a pure Vaishnava. How can you have a wife who insults Vaishnavas? Prabhupada was a successful grihastha, but Prabhupada understood my wife is not favorable for pure devotional service. In this way, both of them great pure devotees who never ever forgot Krishna for a single moment, but they accepted sannyas externally. So Ramanuja decided to take sannyas. We won't go into that story, but he accepted sannyas, and then he came to Mahapurna. He said, please instruct me. Mahapurna is also a very great pure devotee. Mahapurna is completely non-envious. Mahapurna tells him, there is another great disciple of Yamunacharya. So Yamunacharya is like a great Kalpataru. He is such a pure devotee. All of his disciples are pure devotees. So first one was Kanchi Purna. Second one was, and now Mahapurna is telling him, there is a great pure devotee called Goshti Purna. And this Goshti Purna is the right person to initiate you. He will give you the initiation. So you go and approach him. So Ramanuja walked on foot to meet Goshti Purna. So there is a very beautiful temple in South India which is called Saumya Narayan Temple. In South India they call the Lord Perumal. So Saumya Narayan Perumal Temple is there. So he went there and Goshti Purna would stay in that village. So he walked all the way and he requested Goshti Purna, I have come, I was sent by your god brother Mahapurna, and he's saying I have to receive initiation from you. And he said, we'll check next time. So Ramanujacharya came back. Hundreds of kilometers Ramanujacharya walked. First time, second time, third time he was rejected. 18 times Ramanujacharya walked to receive initiation from his Guru Maharaj, and he was rejected. Finally, 18th time when he was rejected, he asked, can you please tell me the reason? So he said, actually somebody who is non-envious is a fit person for initiation. All other disqualifications are not major disqualifications, but the main thing is non-enviousness. So Ramanuja, when he heard that, Ramanuja felt in his heart, I am so unfortunate that my Guru Maharaj, he does not feel I am qualified, and he spoke it out. I am so unqualified, I am so unfortunate. When he was speaking like that, Goshti Purna heard it. And Goshti Purna saw how this person is so serious, he's coming again and again, and he's begging for initiation. So Goshti Purna, seeing that humility, that sincerity, decided to give him initiation. He called him close and he said, now I'm going to tell you the medicine for all the problems in the world. Any problem, any situation, any mental problem, depression, ... whatever you call it, bipolar, schizophrenia, I'm going to tell you something now. I'm going to tell you something. Please come close. And in his ears he said, please remember, I mentioned to you, if somebody is non-envious, then only he can receive this medicine, otherwise he is not fit. So I am giving this medicine only to you, don't give it to anybody else. Okay? Ramanujacharya said yes. And then in his ears he said, Om Namo Narayanaya. When Goshti Purna spoke that mantra in the ears of Ramanujacharya, see, it is the holy name of the Lord, but it is chanted by a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada is chanting in Tompkins Square Park under one tree. It's not a Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. ऐसा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड ट्यून नहीं था वो. Prabhupada is chanting simple kartal, simple bongo drum. He did not have a mridanga, he had a bongo drum. Saying Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That sound is from the spiritual world. Young boys and young girls who never ever believed anybody who is above 30 years and who broke all 4 regulative principles on their Sakshi. They heard this Hare Krishna sound vibration coming from a pure devotee's heart and they surrendered their lives. And today they are spreading the message of Vaishnavism all over the world, which was na bhuto na bhavishyati. So that is the sound coming from Goshti Purna in the years of Ramanuja. Ramanuja felt ecstasy. Ramanuja was completely transformed. Ramanuja was shivering. He never heard that sound before. But Ramanuja, when he went out, he felt there are millions and millions of people in this world who are suffering so many problems. And I have received this medicine. See, even today, COVID medicine is not discovered. Can you imagine if some of you discovers COVID medicine? You can earn a lot of money out of it, but if you are a Vaishnava, you will think, let me distribute this medicine to everyone and let everyone become free. Ramanuja felt like that. So Ramanuja went to the Saumya Narayan Perumal temple. So every Sri Vaishnava temple will have a Garuda Stamba and Deepa Stamba. Ramanujacharya climbed up that Stamba and said, Suno, 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 gaon walo suno. आज शाम को सब लोग एक जगह पे आना. I have a medicine for all the problems of your life. Please don't miss. And everyone is suffering from multiple problems. All of them heard it. And they knew about Ramanuja. Ramanuja is gentleman. Ramanuja is somebody whom Yamunacharya remembered. So everyone from that village and from neighboring villages came in the evening near that stamba. Ramanujacharya again climbed up and he said, सुनो, जो भी आपकी समस्या है उसका हल मैं देने वाला हूँ, ध्यान से सुनो. Everyone is listening. शायद कोई some treasure is buried and सोने के सिक्के बांटेंगे अभी. Ramanuja climbed and said, chant with me. Om Namo Narayanaya. So 3 times this chanting happened and all the villagers, they heard now from Ramanujacharya's mouth. So they felt shivering, they felt transformed. But this sound of that whole village chanting Om Namo Narayanaya also went to Goshti Purna. And Ramanujacharya, after distributing this medicine, is feeling, I'm so happy that I distributed this medicine. And Goshti Purna is shivering with anger. आज सुबह मैंने इसको इनिशिएशन दिया और बोला था किसी को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट मत करना. And just see what he has done. He has distributed not to 1%, 2%, 3% to the whole world, and he has made a public mantra. Envious people of this world, that is the Ichha Dvesha Samuthena. That is the reason why we have come to this world. How can my disciple on the day of initiation publicly disobey me? He called Ramanuja. Ramanuja came close and he said, you fool, you are going to go to hell. Because you disobeyed your spiritual master on the day of initiation, and that to en masse. How could you do this? And Ramanujacharya has tears in his eyes. But you know, when you are talking to somebody sincere, although he might have committed faults, by looking at the eyes, you understand something is sincere about this person. So Goshti Purna said, why are you crying? He said, no, my dear Guru Maharaj, I am thinking how alright it is, how fortunate am I that all these people by chanting Om Namo Narayanaya will get free from all the problems of their life and will go to Parampadam, Vaikuntha. And to enable all of these people, unlimited people, to go to Vaikuntha, only one person has go to go to hell. So I am feeling it's worth it. Now, I am not speaking from my heart, I am just speaking history. So, you will not feel it. But when Ramanujacharya was speaking like that, the eyes, the conviction, it transformed Goshtipurna's heart, and Goshtipurna understood, here is a person who does not care about himself. He is overflowing with compassion for the whole world, and he is that person who actually feels for those, and he wants to send everyone back to the spiritual world. So we have heard about Vasudeva Datta. Vasudeva Datta was one devotee who wanted to send the whole world, and he prayed to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, every single person in the universe, all their sins and all their karma you give to me, and please send all these people back to the spiritual world. And it is not just a poetic talk, because he was speaking like this to the Supreme Absolute Truth, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was looking at his eyes. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions, when Vasudeva Datta spoke like this to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he meant it, and when he heard it, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was shivering. I mentioned to you, Goshtipurna was shivering out of anger. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was shivering out of ecstasy and thinking, what kind of a personality is Vasudeva Datta that he is thinking, every single living entity, their karma you give to me, let them go, I will go to hell. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was shivering with ecstasy, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, what is the harm for the Supreme Lord to send all of the living entities in the universe to the spiritual world? What is the big thing for him? So don't worry, because you are expressing that wish, all the living entities in the universe at that point of time, they will go to the spiritual world. All of them went, and you don't even have to go to hell. So Srila Prabhupada mentions there that there are some preachers, famous big time preachers in the world, who prayed to God, but they prayed to God, my followers, those who follow me, please give their sins to me. And they took the sins of their followers on themselves. And they prayed to the Lord like that. And Prabhupada writes in that purport, Vasudeva Datta is greater than millions of such personalities, because he didn't ask for the sins of his followers. He asked for the sins of the entire universe. Can you imagine what legacy we belong to? हम लोग कौन से परिवार में जन्मे हैं? If we understand, we will melt. So Ramanuja's true compassion melted the heart of Goshtipurna, and Goshtipurna said, today I understood what is Vaishnavism. Actually, I am your guru for namesake. I want to declare that I am your student as far as this quality of compassion goes, and you are my guru and I am your student. So after that, Ramanujacharya became a huge figure. Yamunacharya had pointed a finger to him. Yamunacharya had a deep connection with him. Goshtipurna also accepted him. So Ramanujacharya became a great personality, and he became very famous. Now, because suddenly a young man is becoming famous and he's being recognized, some senior personalities in Srirangam at that time, they were not really comfortable. एक नया कोई आके next acharya बन रहा है, next famous personality बन रहा है. So some of those people, out of envy, they tried to poison Sripad Ramanujacharya by giving him Charanamrit of Ranganath Swami, but it had some poison in it. So just see how this quality of envy is so deep that sometimes we cannot stand the progress of a Vaishnava who has been empowered by our spiritual master. How fallen is this material world? So they put poison in the Charanamrit of Ranganath Swami, and they know that every day in the morning Sripad Ramanujacharya will come and take Charanamrit. And somebody went and told Ramanuja, Acharya. So here, he's called as Udiyavar. One of the titles given to Sripad Ramanujacharya is Udiyavar. Udiyavar means the greatest personality. So he said, Udiyavar, that Charanamrit that you're going to receive is most probably poisoned, and please be careful. But Ramanujacharya, he has so much faith in the Supreme Lord. Because he's a sannyasi and he has to set an example, how can he not take Charanamrit? So if they offer him Charnamrit and he does not take it, that's not right. How can you allow Charnamrit, one drop, to fall on the ground? So he took the Charnamrit, he looked at the deity and he said, my dear Lord, whatever you desire, Rakho bhi, maro bhi, jo ichha tohar, nitya dasa prati, tua adhikar. And he took the Charnamrit. And when he took that Charnamrit, the Supreme Lord, seeing his surrender, he basically took out the poisonous effect of that and kept him alive to preach Shuddha Bhakti for around 125 years. So Ramanuja just stayed in this world for around 125 years, and when he left this world, they gave Samadhi. Every pure devotee, every sannyasi is given Samadhi. You don't perform the final rites of the body. So when they gave Samadhi to him, after giving Samadhi, after some days, that body of Ramanujacharya came out of ground. And that's why when we went to take darshan of Sri Ramanujacharya today, it's basically the body of Ramanujacharya which was kind of put in the ground, but it came out of the ground. Because he wants to give his darshan to all of us so that we can discuss his pastimes, his stories, and we can have faith in the principle of Shuddha Bhakti. And although it looks very impractical, Shuddha Bhakti looks impractical. Shuddha Bhakti, प्रभु जी मालूम है क्या जीवन बाहर दुनिया में क्या चल रहा है, और आप शुद्ध भक्ति के बारे में बोल रहे हैं. But by praying to Ramanujacharya, by always being humble in front of Vaishnavas, by being always carriers of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, you and me can be that lamp which sometimes may burn, but will never get burnt out. That mercy will keep flowing. So, that murti, that body, not murti, that came out, the pujaris, they say, even today the nails of that body keep growing. So they say he's still alive. Killed by giving him poison in Charnamrit. So, when you go for Kaveri Snan, that is the place where one time Ramanujacharya was there, and Goshti Purna appeared there. And as soon as he saw Goshti Purna, Ramanujacharya offered full flat obeisances on the ground because he is his guru. But there was no cloth on the ground, and it was hot burning sand. And you see the South Indians here, they don't wear kurta. Their chest is bare. So Ramanujacharya's chest is bare. And he is on the ground offering obeisances to Goshti Purna. And Goshti Purna is not even telling him to get up. So a few minutes passed, and Ramanuja is on the ground, and that hot sand is burning his body. And the followers of Ramanujacharya, the disciples of Ramanujacharya, are watching all this, and they are looking at Goshti Purna and thinking, Bolo, uthne ko bolo. He can see the sand is burning his bare body, but Ramanujacharya is also not getting up. So in such a situation, what do you do when your guru is offering obeisances to your Param Guru, and you think there is some injustice going on? What do you do? So that situation happened. So one of the disciples, he looked at Goshti Purna and he said, what kind of a spiritual master are you? Can't you see your disciple is there on the ground and his body is getting burned? Please tell him to get up. But Goshti Purna is just keeping quiet. So this disciple, he slept on the floor next to Ramanujacharya, and he slid himself below Ramanujacharya so that he went on the ground and Ramanujacharya's body went on this disciple's body. And he is feeling the hot sand, and now his body is being burnt and Ramanujacharya's body is not being burnt, but Ramanujacharya's body is single body. Now this disciple's body is his body, and on top of it Ramanujacharya's body. So there is a lot of contact with the hot ground, and Goshti Purna is still not saying anything. Goshti Purna is keeping quiet. And after some time, he said, okay, get up. Then the Ramanujacharya got up, he is keeping quiet, and this disciple got up. And Goshti Purna looked at Ramanujacharya and he said, I heard that some envious pujaris of Ranganath Swami temple, they tried to poison you. And I was thinking, because a sannyasi does madhukari, he does not cook food. Na niragnir, na chakriya. So if you continue to take bhiksha, then there could be more instances of somebody becoming envious of your power, of your purity, and somebody else might poison you. So I wanted to save you. So I was thinking, who is your trustworthy disciple? So this disciple, his name was Pranata Arti Hara. Pranata Arti Hara, he is a good disciple. You know why? Because he has so much love for his spiritual master that in one sense he offended the spiritual master of his spiritual master. Right? If we are told that we should never ever offend our spiritual master, can you imagine what should be our relationship with our Param Guru? What should be our relationship with our Param Guru? Twad bhritya bhritya paricharaka bhritya bhritya bhrityasya bhritya eva smara lokanatha. 7 times we have to become Dasanudas. Our Param Guru is there. How can you offend your Param Guru? Can you? So he said, this disciple loves you so much, you can put your trust on him so much. In one sense, he broke etiquette and he is kind of doubting his Param Guru. In the presence of his Guru, Ramanujacarya is not getting up because of Goshti Purna. But he, छोड़ो, रामानुजा और गोष्ठी पूर्ण का क्या नाता है, वो उनका नाता है, लेकिन मैं मेरे गुरु का ये परिस्थिति देख नहीं सकता हूँ. He said, he should be your cook from tomorrow. So just see how great souls have a very different vision, and sometimes in our life, our great souls in our body, in our life, may sometimes behave strangely with us, and we think, I heard Vaishnavas are very compassionate, I heard Vaishnavas are very kind-hearted. Why is this Vaishnav hard-hearted? No, sorry sir, a Vaishnav cannot be hard-hearted. A Vaishnav by definition cannot be hard-hearted. Then why is that Vaishnav behaving hard-hearted with you? To teach you something. And the moment you learn that, you can again experience the soft-hearted side of that devotee. One time, Sripad Ramanujacarya, we will not go with this story. Today is a very auspicious day. There are millions of stories and we could have discussed more, but today is a very auspicious day. Today morning, when we went on Harinam to Ranganath Swami temple, some of us who were ahead with the sound system, we saw one procession coming as we entered. Does anybody know whose procession it was? So, that procession was, the murti in that procession had a beard. Dadi thi unke. So there is one acharya who has a dadi. His name is Kuresh. So one of the greatest disciples of Ramanujacharya, his name is Kuresh. And today happens to be the appearance day of Gopala Bhatta Goswami. It's very interesting to note that Gopala Bhatta Goswami appeared in this day on the appearance day of Kuresh. And none of us knew about it. And today, because it is his appearance day, we'll like to speak a little bit about Kuresh also. So Kuresh was the landlord of a village called Kura. And that Kura village was near Kanchipuram. So the king of Kura is called Kuresh, simple. And he was just so charitable, although he was very rich. From morning sunrise to sunset, anybody who came to his home, he would just give food. He would give medical help. Somebody required money, he would give like that. One day, Kanchipurna, the pujari of Kanchipuram temple, came to Kuresh and he said, Lakshmi Devi wants to meet you. He said, why so? Because I told you, Kanchipurna could talk with the deities. He said, why so? He said, no, she heard that you are a very charitable person. That's why she wants to meet you. Kuresh, when he heard that, he said, what? Lakshmi Devi, the mother of devotion, wants to meet me because I am charitable? Actually, this is not the reason for which I should go and meet Lakshmi Devi. Actually, I am just a show bottle. I am just trying to show off that I am a very charitable person. If she does not want to see me for my devotion to my Guru, then what is the use of being here? That evening, he told his wife. His wife's name is Andal. This is not the same Andal who is one of the 12 Alvars. Her name is also Andal. So he went to his wife and said, my dear wife, today we have to leave this Kura village and we have to shift to Srirangam. Why so? Because Lakshmi Devi feels that we are a very charitable person and that's not what I want to be known for. So he donated all his property to the Brahmins, and penniless Kuresh and his wife Andal, they shifted to Srirangam and they started staying in Srirangam. So this Kuresh and one of another disciples of Ramanujacharya, his name was Dasharathi. So this Kuresh and Dasharathi, one day, they had been with Ramanujacharya to receive the initiation mantra from Goshtipurna. And when he declared it, then Kuresh and Dasharathi also heard that Mahamantra. After that, Goshtipurna, he called Ramanuja again and he said, since you are such a great soul, I want to give you the next level of learning. So Harinam is the first level of learning, and after Harinam, I want to give you a higher level of learning. So what could be a higher level of learning than Harinam? Ramanujacharya is also interested. He says, I am going to teach you a higher level of knowledge. So Ramanujacharya says, yes. He says, the highest level of knowledge after chanting the holy names is to surrender yourself to the Supreme Lord with whatever you have. And Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shocha. So, Goshtipurna, he gave the second level of learning to Ramanuja. So when he came out, then Kuresh and Dasharathi, they said, Guru Maharaj, you gave the first level of learning to everyone, but because we are your disciples, we want to know that second level of learning. Can you tell us? So Ramanujacharya, this time he was thinking that no, whatever deep spiritual understanding I received from my Guru Maharaj, I should take care of it and I should not just make it very cheap. So he told Kuresh, if you serve your spiritual master, means me only, but that's not the way you speak. If you serve your spiritual master for 1 year, menially, then you become qualified to understand the meaning of the shloka, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. So Kuresh, by that time, was little old. So Kuresh felt, 1 year of menial service, what if I leave? So he said, I may not last that long. In the scriptures, there is one shloka which says, 1 year of menial service, the seva that you do is equivalent to 1 month of service you do to your spiritual master if you are doing fasting, upvas. Upvas karke agar 1 mahina seva karenge, that is 1 year of seva menially. So Ramanujacharya accepted that. And Kuresh, he did fasting for 1 month and he served his Guru Maharaj. And after that, Ramanujacharya instructed him the teachings that he learned from his Guru Maharaj about Sarva Dharman, Charama Shloka of the Bhagavad Gita. So Dasharathi, he saw that Kuresh got the knowledge. Dasharathi happened to be a blood relative of Ramanuja. So Dasharathi also went to Ramanuja and said, can I also receive the special lesson that you have been telling Kuresh? So because Dasharathi is a blood relative, Ramanujacharya was especially careful because people are people. Although Dasharathi is also a pure disciple, but if he tells it to Dasharathi, people will say, वो उनका relative है ना, इसलिए अपने relative को बताया, और अपने relative को बताएंगे रामानुजा, लेकिन हमको नहीं बताएंगे. You know, people make stories. So, he told Dasharathi, if you can serve menially as a servant of your spiritual master, then you become qualified to understand Sarva Dharman Parityajya. So, Dasharathi said, yes, I am ready. At that time, around that time, Mahapurna's daughter, who is Mahapurna? The second Shiksha, Guru of Ramanuja. Mahapurna had a daughter, her name was Atulai. Atulai was married to one family in another village, but you know, they are not rich. So when they went in that family, they gave a lot of seva to her, and she was really busy doing cooking seva, washing pots, collecting water from the river and all heavy seva. So one day she told her mother-in-law, I am ready to do seva, I am really happy to do seva for my in-laws, but can I get some assistant, because all this is physically heavy seva. So mother-in-law told her, if you want a servant, go and ask your father. We don't have a servant for you. So she was really, in difficult situation. So she came back to Mahapurna and saying, they are saying, I have to ask you. So Mahapurna said, I am nobody. You go and ask Ramanuja. So Atulai, she came to Ramanuja and said, this is what happened and I am here. So can you please help me? My father sent me to you. And next to Ramanuja was his disciple, Dasharathi. So he told Dasharathi, you want to serve me menially? Yes. So you go with Atulai to her in-laws and you do menial seva, whatever is told. So the special Dasharathi, who is a blood relative of Ramanuja and who is a great scholar, went with Atulai to her in-laws' place, and he went there not as Dasharathi the scholar, he went as a servant brought by Atulai from her maternal home. और एक दास को क्या सेवा मिलती है घर में? बर्तन मांजो, this, that. So all kinds of menial seva, and Dasharathi was doing it. Now after many months of doing this menial seva, one scholarly Pandit had come to that village and he was giving some, in South Indian language it is called Upanyas. Upanyas means pravachan. So he was speaking on the Vedas and he spoke something which was not correct. So now devotees, because they love the Supreme Lord, they can tolerate insults to themselves, but they cannot tolerate insults to the Supreme Lord. So as he is speaking something wrong, Dasharathi spoke, wait a minute, this is not the right understanding. The right understanding is this. This big Brahman speaker, he became so furious. He will say, hey, औकात में रहे. You are a servant in that home, remain like a servant. Don't instruct me. I am a knower of the Vedas. What knowledge you have? And Dasharathi started quoting from scriptures left and right, and he said, according to this understanding, what you are speaking is wrong, and that's all. And he had to accept it because he was wrong and he was right. So all the villagers, they understood, I don't think he is a menial servant. Then some of them said, hey, he's Dasharathi, the famous scholar. And then in this way it was discovered that he was Dasharathi. He came back to Ramanujacarya, and then it was revealed that for months and months he worked as a servant. And then Ramanuja said, yes, because you served my instructions. So one person did Vapu Seva and one person did Vani Seva. And both of them received the highest understanding of complete surrender to Lord Krishna with whatever they have. So in this way, this Kuresh and Dasharathi, they were very special personalities. I'll tell one more story about Dasharathi. Dasharathi, because he's next to Ramanujacharya, there is a way in which Mahaprasad Charanamrit is given. So first, when the darshan opens, in our temple also if you come, the devotee who garlands Prabhupada on behalf of the whole temple, he gets the first Shatari, he gets the first Charanamrit. And if Guru Maharaj is there, if some sannyasi is there, then he is given that honor of garlanding Prabhupada, and he gets the first Shatari and he gets the Charanamrit. So every day Ramanujacharya would come to Srirangam temple and he would get the first Charanamrit, and the second Charanamrit would come to Dasharathi, and then everyone else. One day, the person who was giving Charanamrit, he somehow missed the sequence. So he gave to Ramanujacharya and then he gave to somebody else, and he missed Dasharathi. So Dasharathi is very humble, and just to maintain the parampara, just to maintain the proper thing, out of no pride, in a very humble way, he caught hold of that person and said, see, actually the etiquette is that after you give to the Guru, Ramanujacharya, the next person is me. So you should give to me, and after that you give to him. But it's not self-aggrandizement. It is to maintain the rules and regulations of an ashram. So sometimes some senior devotees, they might speak in such a way, but we have to understand it's not a call for fame and name and recognition. It is basically trying to preserve the parampara. So Dasharathi mentioned that like that, and that news also went to Ramanuja. So Ramanuja, in order to set the right example, next day, when the Charanamrit and Mahaprasad was being distributed, he did not take it. What did Dasharathi say? After Ramanujacharya, I am the next person. So his receiving was dependent on the receiving of Ramanujacharya. So next year Ramanujacharya purposefully did not take. And he said, give to him, give to him, give to him. He distributed Charanamrita and Mahaprasad to everyone except himself. And he took at the end. Now Dasharathi is a completely surrendered disciple, so he also didn't take, because he knew my position is to take Charanamrita and Mahaprasad after my spiritual master. So that day, because Ramanujacharya took the last, Dasharathi took after Ramanujacharya. So who took the last? Dasharathi. So who gets the last Mahaprasad if the first Mahaprasad goes to the senior most devotee? And then his representative, then his representative, then his. Who gets the last in the order of seniority? The junior most. So that day Ramanujacharya arranged the situation in such a way that the last person to receive Charanamrita and Mahaprasad happened to be Dasharathi. In that way, without speaking, he gave a lesson to Dasharathi that a good disciple should never be hungry for name and fame and recognition. And actually, we should be the last to have Mahaprasad. We should be the last to have Charanamrita. So in this way, Dasharathi and Kuresh, they were very dear to Ramanujacharya. And I'll just speak few things and we'll end. Kuresh would do bhiksha in Srirangam. And one day he could not go for bhiksha because it was raining very heavily. And that day, because there was no food, so Kuresh was hungry and he was lying on the ground. Because when you sometimes become hungry, you just have to lie down. You can't do much. So seeing that situation, Andal, in her mind, she did not pray. But she just made a wish. If the Lord sends some Mahaprasad, then my husband, who is really hungry and he cannot even go for bhiksha, he will get some prasad. She did not pray. It was just a wish. ऐसे कभी कभी ख्याल आता है ना मन में, वैसे एक्सप्रेस किया. That day Ranganath Swami sent his Raj Bhog offering, the whole Raj Bhog offering, with a palanquin. Pa 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 pa. The whole Mahaprasad came to Kuresh's home. And Kuresh saw that. And Kuresh knew some devotee must have prayed for me, otherwise Mahaprasad does not come. So he took a little bit of Mahaprasad, enough for him. He gave to his wife, and then he said, distribute the rest of the Mahaprasad to all the devotees. And all the devotees took Mahaprasad. That Mahaprasad went back. Then he asked his wife, did you express something to the Lord for this Mahaprasad? So she said, I didn't pray, but I could not see your situation, so I did express a thought in my heart. He said, I cannot become angry on you because I know you are a sincere devotee and you must have prayed for me. You didn't pray for yourself. So I am not angry on you, but I just want to tell you, we are the servants of the Lord. We do not tell the Lord to serve us, and this is not the right way to do it. So his wife also understood the mood of her husband, and after that she never made any wish like that. But it is mentioned that that day, Ranganath Swami and Ranganayaki, Lakshmi Devi, their Mahaprasad was taken by the wife of Kuresh Andal. That night she conceived and she got 2 sons. And those 2 sons, the whole Srirangam accepted those 2 sons as the sons of Ranganath and Ranganayaki. They were never considered as the sons of Kuresh and Andal. And in the baby form, Ranganath Swami sent the pujari saying, these babies should be on the altar. So every day when the darshan would open, devotees would come for taking darshan. They would take darshan of Ranganath. And in the palna, there would be 2 young boys. And in this way, these 2 boys were considered the children of the Supreme Lord himself. And they were given the names by Ramanujacharya. One was called Vedavyas and one was called Parashar. So remember, Ramanujacharya had promised to Yamunacharya. This Parashar Bhatta, the son of Kuresh, became the next Acharya after Ramanujacharya. When Ramanujacharya left, then Parashar Bhatta became the next Acharya. There are many stories about Parashar Bhatta. I'll just speak the most important story about Kuresh and then we'll stop. At one point of time, there was a king called Kolatunga. And this Kolatunga was one of the Chola kings. Actually, the Chola kings are Vaishnavas. But one king went off. And when he went off, he became a real fanatic Shaivite. So he said, anybody who worships Vishnu deserves to be killed if he does not agree to be converted to be a Shaivite. तो दो ही है, एक तो convert करो या मृत्यु स्वीकार करो. So really fanatic, and it has nothing to do with pleasing Lord Shiva. This is his own fanaticism coming out. So one of his ministers, his name was Chatugram. This Chatugram was actually a disciple of Kuresh, but because of some misunderstanding, he became envious of Kuresh. He became envious of his Param Guru, Ramanujacarya, and he went to Kolatunga and he said, see, you are converting so many people to Shaivism. As long as the great Maha Bhakta, Ramanujacarya, the great preacher exists, you will keep converting people to Shaivism and he'll keep converting people to Vaishnavism. Attack at the root. So he sent for guards and he said, bring Ramanuja. When the guards reached Ramanujacharya, Ramanujacharya was ready to leave. But Kuresh said, wait, you don't understand. When Kolatunga invites somebody and somebody like you, it basically means death for you. So at that time he said, I have one request from you. Yes. Let me go to Kolatunga's court as Ramanuja and you escape from here. What it meant was that Kuresh was a Grihastha, so he was wearing white clothes. He was telling Ramanuja to wear white clothes and he was telling that your saffron clothes I will wear. And Ramanujacharya understood what it meant. What it meant was death for Kuresh. So he said, I can never allow it to happen. But Kuresh said, I just have this one wish. My dear Lord Ramanuja, you are like the shining sun. You are a storehouse of hope for millions and millions of Vaishnavas. I am nobody. If you disappear from this world will be put into darkness. But if I die, it's not a big loss. So please do it. Ramanujacharya did not want to do it. But Ramanujacharya understood the mood of his disciple and he wanted to glorify his disciple. When is a disciple glorified? When a disciple is put into a testing situation. So Ramanujacharya, in order to make the diamond of Kuresh shine, he agreed. They exchanged clothes. Kuresh went and in front of everyone, Kolatunga said, yes, Ramanuja. Actually, it is Kuresh. Yes, Ramanuja. What is the goal of life and what is the highest thing to be achieved in the human form of life? And Kuresh, who is disguised as Ramanujacharya, he said, the highest goal of life is to worship Lord Vishnu, and the highest thing is to surrender everything to Lord Vishnu. And when Kolatunga heard it, he said, you fool, you don't understand what it means. You deserve to be killed. He said, I think there are many great scholars in my court. Let me see if you can answer their questions. So he brought all the Pandits and there was an argument, a debate between the Pandits and Kuresh defeated them shastrically, giving all quotations from scriptures. So all the Pandits are destroyed and Kolatunga himself is defeated. So Kolatunga just could not take it. He said, okay, enough of this debate. Ye bahut ho gaya time pass. He brought out a paper and there was something written on the paper. And he said, just finish everything. I don't want to prolong this whole thing. Just sign here. And Kuresh took that paper and on that paper was written, Lord Shiva is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the goal of life is to worship Lord Shiva and I want to become a follower of Lord Shiva. And Kuresh took something and he wrote something and he gave it to Kolatunga. And Kolatunga said, Ab aaya oot pahad ke niche. Ab samjha ye कि अगर ये मेरी बात नहीं मानेगा, he will die. Just see, to save himself from death, he has finally signed the paper. And when he took the paper, he saw something which really, really hurt his ego. At that time, there was a way of measuring things, just like we use kilograms, grams, and in UK, they use another system called pounds and ounces. So in that time, there was a system of measurement called Drona and Shiva. So Shiva as a method of measurement was less than a Drona. So on the paper, Kuresh wrote, Are what to speak of Vishnu, even a drone is greater than Shiva. And it was right, because way of measurement that was right. But when he wrote that, And when Kolatunga heard it and read it, he said, damn it, he's not able to understand what I can do to him. So sometimes it is mentioned that he ordered his guards to pluck out the eyes of Kuresh. And sometimes it is mentioned that Kuresh himself plucked out his own eyes. And when you pluck out your own eyes, it's just blood oozing and his whole body became full of blood. And Kolatunga was not really happy even with this, and he told his guards, beat them so much. So Mahapurna and Kuresh both had gone to Kolatunga's court. Mahapurna and Kuresh were bet heavily, their whole body was bleeding, and they were just thrown into the forest. Mahapurna left his body there, and Kuresh, in that condition, when his eyes are bleeding, his whole body is bleeding, he performed the last rites of Mahapurna in the jungle, and he kept telling Mahapurna, Srirangam is very close, let's go to Srirangam and you can leave your body in Srirangam. But Mahapurna told Kuresh, no, I don't want to go to Srirangam to leave my body. I want to give a message to all the Vaishnavas, especially those who come to Srirangam in 2024. How many of you want to hear the message of Mahapurna? Mahapurna said, if I leave my body in Srirangam, then it is definitely proven anybody leaves their body in a holy place, they go to Vaikuntha. But I want to prove that the body of a Vaishnava is as holy as a tirtha. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani swantastena gadabhrita. So I want to leave my body in your arms because I want to give a message to people. If you leave your body in the arms of a pure devotee, that is as good as leaving your body in a holy place, and my Vaikuntha is guaranteed. That's why I want to leave my body here in this jungle in your arms. So Kuresh, his hands had the head of Mahapurna. Mahapurna's daughter was watching all that. Mahapurna put his feet on the lap of his daughter Atulai, and remembering Yamunacharya chanting the names of Lord Vishnu, Mahapurna left this world, and before leaving he told Kuresh, when you meet Ramanuja, you offer millions of obeisances to Ramanuja. Kuresh, with his eyes blind, he continued with his life blinded, and towards the end, Ramanuja, he could not see that Kuresh was blind. So he told Kuresh, Kuresh, you are such a dear devotee of the Lord, why don't you go to Varadraj? Because Varadraj is Vardhan dene wale vyakti ke Raja hai. I want you to get your eyes back. Varadraj can give your eyes back. Why don't you go and pray? He said, no, I am happy, I am satisfied. He said, no, you go and pray. So Kuresh forcibly was taken by Ramanujacharya from Srirangam to Kanchipuram. Imagine the great Guru Ramanujacharya walked with Kuresh to Kanchipuram just to make sure that he begs to Varadraj. And there, Kuresh, he offered beautiful prayers to Varadraj. It's called Varada Stuti Stotra. He offered very beautiful prayers, and Varadraj became very happy on him and said, what do you want? So at that time, because of some duty, Ramanujacharya had to leave. So Kuresh said, I just want one thing from you. Chatugram, who is basically instigated the king Kolatunga against me and Ramanujacharya, you please send him back to Vaikuntha. And Varadraj told him, I have planned a special hell for him. And I want to send him life after life to that hell. And Kuresh said, but you promised to me that you will fulfill my wish. So please send him back to the spiritual world. Varadraj had some other plans for Chatugram, but he sent him. So after Ramanuja met him in the evening, he said, what did you ask? He said, no, I asked for Chatugram to go back. So what? I had wanted you to ask for your eyes. Please ask for your eyes. No, I am satisfied. No, ask for your eyes. So next day, again Ramanujacharya forced him to go to in front of Varadraj, and he said, now you offer prayers. So he again offered prayers. They said, okay, now ask. Next day, Varadraj became very happy on him. He said, what do you want? He said, my only request is, Kolatunga, who hurt, please send him back to the spiritual world. Varadraj said, what? Your guru wants you to ask your eyes back. Why are you asking for any other? No, he said, I am satisfied the way I am. all I want is Kolatunga should go back to the spiritual world. And Lord Varadara said, yes. Now this time, Ramanujacharya went to the deity and he said, इसको मैं भेजता हूँ रोज, ये कुछ मांग नहीं रहा है. I am begging to you, please give vision to my disciple Kuresh. Next day again Kuresh went and he asked, and this time before Kuresh could say anything, Varadaraj only said, see, you don't ask anything now. Your spiritual master, my pure devotee, regularly comes to me and he's saying, you give him vision, you give him. So I want to give you vision. Okay? So Kuresh said, okay, one wish. And how can you deny the wish of a pure devotee? And especially somebody who loves those who hate him. Krishna melts when he sees somebody who loves those who hate him. So bolo, kya hai wish? To bole, yes, my Guru Maharaj wants me to again see. But you know what? I don't want to see this material world because this material world is not a good place. All I want is, I don't want to disobey my spiritual master, but I want you to give me vision to see only two. Your beautiful form I want to see, and my spiritual master's beautiful form I want to see. तो दोनों हो गया ना, इनको जो चाहिए वो भी हो गया और गुरु की जो इच्छा है वो भी पूर्ण हो गई. Varadaraja said, तथास्तु. Again evening Ramanujacharya said, where are your eyes? He said, no, I got my vision. He said, really? Well, yes. Then he spoke. He said, okay, come with me. He took him to Varadaraja. I said, now describe. And Kuresh with his divine vision spoke what clothes Varadaraj was wearing that day, what ornaments he was wearing that day, how many tulsi leaves he had that day. And Ramanuja understood. Then Ramanuja told, okay, you now describe me. And he spoke how the dhoti of Ramanuja was saffron, and how the shikha of Ramanujacharya, how long it was, and how the wind was blowing, and the shikha of Ramanujacharya was flying in the air. And he spoke about all the descriptions of Ramanuja. And Ramanuja understood the beautiful heart of Kuresh, how he is such a surrendered servant of his Guru. And that Kuresh, after some days, left this world. And last point today, just to glorify Kuresh, Kuresh expressed his desire to Ramanuja that I want to leave before you. And Ramanuja said, you are such a valuable disciple. Why do you want to give up your seva and to leave? Usually the Guru leaves first and then the disciple leaves. So Kuresh said, actually, I think it is my time to leave. And I keep looking at the sky and I can see the Vaikuntha Vasis showing their hand down towards me. So I think my time has come. And what I saw, I read in the scriptures, that in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, the Guru-disciple relationship is not there. The Guru-disciple relationship changes to friend-friend relationship. So he says, if you go to the spiritual world, and when I go to the spiritual world, you will no longer be my Guru, and you will come and welcome me, because that's how any person who goes to the spiritual world is welcomed. I cannot imagine that you are not my master and I am not your disciple. So I want to leave first, so that when later you come to the spiritual world, I will come to the gates of the spiritual world and welcome you. When the Ramanujacharya heard this, he said, what a disciple you are, and how deeply rooted you are in that seva bhav, that you don't want to give up your seva bhav even in the spiritual world. So sometimes we feel seva is a sadhan for the sadhya of meeting the Supreme Lord, but actually Kuresh is telling us it is not the sadhan, it is the sadhya in sadhana stage. It is the perfection of life to serve our spiritual master. Chakshudan dilo jai janme janme prabhu se. And Ramanujacharya said, I bow down to you, what a disciple you are. And Kuresh, one day, he left this world, and before going, he called his two sons, Vedavyas and Parashar, and he told them, never become proud that you are recognized in Srirangam as the sons of Ranganath and Ranganayaki. Never become proud that you are born in my family. Always remember that you are servants of Ramanuja. Always obey your mother, always respect your mother. And whatever Ramanuja says, that you do. And while remembering Ramanujacharya, Kuresh left from this world, and then Parashar was put on the Vyasasana. That small boy, Parashar, was put on the Vyasasana by Ramanuja, and he said, he is the next Acharya, and then he became the next Acharya. So this Kuresh was born on today, and it is our great fortune that we are in Srirangam Dham, and in the morning we heard from Baldev Prabhu about the deity, and in the evening we got to hear, and I got a chance to repeat what I have heard from His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj and from other senior Vaishnavas about the glories of Kuresh. And this is the fruit of these years. In the morning to hear the glories of the Supreme Lord, in the evening to hear the glories of pure devotees like Ramanuja and Kuresh. If I spoke something that disturbed you, please forgive me. I was just trying to repeat what I heard from my spiritual masters. And I'm really grateful to the organizers for giving me this chance to speak about the glories of the beautiful surrendered servants in the Sri Sampradaya. And there is so much emphasis on Vaishnav Seva. So thank you very much. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Sripad Ramanujacarya ki jai. Jai Shri Kuresh ki jai. Jai Shri Dasharathi ki jai. Jai Shri Parashar Bhatta ki jai. Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.